Beneath the twin moons of 07, the desert sands shimmered like liquid silver, casting long shadows over the ruins of an ancient human outpost, long forgotten by Earth but not by her Lyra. The last princess of the Kailari Empire stood tall, her obsidian skin glinting under the pale light. Her eyes glowed faintly. Violet, a trait shared only by royal blood. She had come seeking answers, not suitors yet. Here he was, dusty boots, scuffed uniform, and a grin that refused to fade. His name was Lily Carter, a lowly xenolinguist from the Outer Rim colonies sent by the United Earth Council to investigate strange energy readings near the ruins. Lily had never seen a real alien before, let alone one who looked like a goddess carved from night itself, but fear did not stop her from speaking her mind. "I didn't mean to propose," Lily said, brushing sand from her jacket. "I meant to ask if you'd consider an alliance. Your people and mine were not enemies." Lyra tilted her head, studying the human as if she were a puzzle wrapped in sunlight. "Alliance," she repeated the word, tasting it like unfamiliar fruit. "You humans burned our skyports, you poisoned our oceans on 3 worlds, and now you come with open hands and—" Soft words. Lily swallowed hard but held her ground. "That was the old Earth government. They're gone. We're different now. We've changed, have you?" Lyra stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper that sent shivers down Lily's spine. "Or do you simply wear better masks?" Before Lily could answer, the ground trembled. A deep groan echoed from the ruins behind them. Dust plumed into the air as something massive stirred beneath the sand. The ancient structure cracked open, revealing a metallic spire pulsing with blue energy. Both women froze. "That's not supposed to be there," Lily whispered, pulling out her scanner. "According to all records, this site was just a listening post, nothing more." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "That spire, it's Kailari, but older than my bloodline, older than the Empire itself." She reached out instinctively, her fingers hovering just above the surface. "It's waking." Suddenly the spire flared, blinding them both. A voice echoed, not through sound, but through thought, ancient, resonant, and cold. "Chosen one's approach." Lily stumbled back, but Lyra stood firm. "Who speaks?" "I am the heart of Zira, the last sentinel of the first covenant." The voice boomed. "For 10,000 cycles I have waited for one of royal blood and one of human fire to stand together. Only then may the truth be revealed." The ground split further, revealing a staircase spiraling into darkness. "Descend," the voice commanded, "or let your worlds burn in ignorance." Lyra glanced at Lily. "You heard it, human. Are you coming, or will you run back to your fragile little ship?" Lily squared her shoulders. "I didn't come this far to turn back now." Together they descended. The air grew colder, the walls lined with glowing glyphs that shifted as they passed. Lily recognized some from old Earth myths, others from Kailari scripture. It was as if both cultures had been echoing the same story without knowing it. At the bottom they found a chamber bathed in soft blue light. In the center floated a crystalline orb swirling with stars and memories. "Touch it," the voice urgedly. Ra hesitated, then placed her hand on the orb. Instantly, images flooded her mind. A great war not between humans and Kailari, but against something far worse, a shadow that fed on division, that whispered lies into the hearts of leaders, turning allies into enemies. The shadow had manipulated both species for millennia, ensuring they would never unite. Lily touched the orb next and saw the same truth. But from Earth's side, she saw how the old government had been infiltrated, how decisions to attack were not theirs alone but guided by unseen hands. "The shadow thrives on fear," the voice explained. "Only unity can banish it." Lyra turned to Lily, her smirk gone, replaced by something softer. "So your clumsy proposal wasn't so foolish after all?" Lily blinked. "I still didn't propose." "You offered your trust?" Lyra said, stepping closer. "In my culture, that is the first vow." Lily's cheeks warmed. "Then what's the second?" Lyra took her hand. "To stand together even when the stars fall above them." The twin moons aligned, casting a beam of light through the chamber. The spire hummed louder. The glyphs on the walls brightened and rearranged, forming a new symbol, one that blended human and Kailari script. The voice spoke one last time. "The covenant is renewed. Go forth and heal what was broken." They emerged from the ruins, changed. The desert wind carried a new song, one of hope not war, back at her ship. Lily prepared to leave, but Lyra stopped her. "You will return. I have to report to the council." "And then?" Lyra asked, her violet eyes searching Lily, smiled. "And then I'll come back. Maybe bring coffee this time. I hear you aliens don't know what you're missing." Lyra laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a storm. "Coffee can wait, but you cannot." She reached into her cloak and pulled out a small pendant shaped like the new symbol. "Wear this, it will guide you home." Lily fastened it around her neck, the metal warm against her skin. "Thank you." As the ship lifted off, Lyra watched until it became a speck in the sky. Then she turned to her waiting guards. "Prepare the fleet, we have a new mission." Weeks later on Earth, Lily stood before the United Council, her voice steady, her heart full. "We were wrong about the Kailari. They're not our enemies, they never were, and if we work together we can stop what's coming." Skeptical faces stared back, but Lily didn't flinch. She had seen the truth, and she had a promise to keep. Meanwhile, on 07, Lyra addressed her people from the palace balcony. "For too long, we have lived in fear of the unknown, but the unknown has a name now and a face." She held up the matching pendant. "Her name is Lily Carter, and she is the first of our new allies." That night, both women looked up at their respective skies, thinking of each other, knowing that across the void something beautiful had begun. Not a romance in the old sense, but a bond forged in truth and courage. Months passed. Messages flew between worlds. Trade routes opened, schools exchanged knowledge, and slowly, the wounds of war began to healthen. One evening, as Lily walked through a newly built garden on Mars, a familiar figure appeared beneath the cherry blossoms. "You're late," Lily said, smiling. "I had a galaxy to ready," Lyra replied, stepping into the light. They stood in silence for a moment, the stars above them brighter than ever. "So," Lily finally said, "what now?" Lyra took her hand. "Now we build something better together." And for the first time in centuries, both human and alien looked to the future, not with fear but with hope. The cherry blossoms on Mars drifted like pink snow around Lily Carter and Lyra as they stood hand in hand beneath the dome that held back the red planet's thin air. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant, but here warmth bloomed not just from the climate systems but from something deeper, trust hard-won and fragile as glass, yet stronger than steel. They had built this garden together in secret, a place where human and Kailari could meet without guards, without protocols. Just two souls who had seen the truth buried under centuries of lies now. They walked its paths daily, not as princess and scientist, but as partners. But peace never lasts long. A signal crackled through Lily's wrist, calm, sharp, and urgent. It was Maya Rodriguez, her old friend from the Xenolinguistics Corps. "Lily, you need to come back to Earth orbit right now. Something's wrong." Lyra's violet eyes narrowed. "What is it?" "I don't know," Lily said, her voice tight. But Maya doesn't panic. They boarded Lyra's personal skiff, a sleek vessel shaped like a falling leaf, and shot toward the orbital station. Where Earth's new council met, the journey took less than an hour, but tension filled every second. When they arrived, chaos ruled. The command deck screens flashed red, alarms blared, and officers shouted over one another. "What happened?" Lily demanded. Maya ran to her face, pale. "A fleet just dropped out of warp near Titan. It's not ours and it's not Kailari. It's something else." Lyra stepped forward. "Show me." On the main screen, a massive armada hung in the void. Black ships shaped like jagged teeth, their hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it. No flags, no signals, just silence. "They're not hailing," an officer said. "But they're powering weapons." Lyra's breath caught. The shadow. Lily turned to her. "You think it's real? I saw it in the orb." Lyra said, "It wasn't just a memory, it was a warning," before anyone could react. The Black Fleet fired not at the station but at Titan itself. A beam of dark energy lanced out, striking the moon's surface, and for a moment, nothing happened. Then the ice cracked, and from the fissures rose machines tall as mountains made of bone, and metal fused together, their eyes burning with cold fire. "They're awakening the old ones," Lyra whispered. "The what?" "The first weapons," Lyra explained quickly. "Built during the age before the Covenant, meant to destroy entire star systems, but sealed away when the truth was known. Someone has broken the seals. Lily's mind raced. Who would do that? Someone who wants both our peoples gone. Lyra said. Someone who fears unity more than war, back on Zyra 7. The Kailari High Command received the same distress call. But not all agreed with Lyra's alliance with humans. Elder Vorlak slammed his fist on the obsidian table. This is a human trick. They lure us into a trap while their new weapons rise. You saw the orb, Lyra countered. You heard the sentinel. I saw a human touching sacred relics. Vorlak sneered. And now monsters walk Titan. Lyra stood tall. Then let me prove it. She turned to her fleet admiral. Ready the Dawnwing. Prepare for jump. Meanwhile on Earth, Counselor Hale, a hardliner from the old guard, pulled Lily aside. You brought this on us, Carter. Your little alien pet opened a door we couldn't close. Lily didn't flinch. If you'd listened 10 years ago, we wouldn't be here. She stormed off and found Maya in the comms bay. Can we reach Titan? Barely, Maya said. But there's heavy jamming. Someone's blocking all known frequencies except one. Which one? The Old Covenant. Band, Maya said, eyes wide. The one only you and Lyra should know. Lily nodded. Use it. The message was short. We're coming, hold on Titan. The machines marched across the frozen plains, carving canyons with every step they ignored. Human outposts and Kailari ruins alike heading for a single point. The buried core where the first forge lay. Lyra's ship arrived first. Her fleet forming a defensive ring around the moon, but the black ships did not attack. They simply watched. Then, Lily's shuttle appeared, escorted by 3 United Earth destroyers. Together they landed near the forge entrance, ice and metal fused into a spiral gate humming with wrongness. This place feels like a tomb, Lily said, pulling her coat tighter. It is, Lyra replied. The tomb of the first betrayal. They entered the forge and found a chamber filled with dormant machines, rows upon rows of them, waiting for a commandant. The center stood a figure cloaked in shifting shadows. You are too late. It hissed, its voice layered with 1,000 whispers. The awakening has begun. Lyra drew her blade, a weapon forged from starlight. Who are you? I am the will of division, it said. The voice in every council that says no. I am the doubt in every heart that fears the other. Lily stepped forward. You're not real. You're just fear given shape. The figure laughed. Fear is the most real thing in the universe. It raised a hand and the machine stirred, but Lyra did not attack. Instead, she turned to Lily and took her hand. Remember the vow? Lily nodded, and together they spoke the words from the orb. We stand together even when the stars fall. Light erupted from their joined hands. Not bright, but pure, flowing into the chamber, washing over the machines. The shadow figure screamed as its form unraveled. The machines stilled, their eyes dimming. The forge fell silent. Above them the black fleet shuddered, then vanished as if they were never there back. On Earth and Zyra, 7 leaders watched in stunned silence as the threat disappeared without a single shot. Fired Elder Vorlak bowed his head. Forgive my doubt, Princess. Counselor Hale said nothing, but his eyes held a new respect in the days that followed. Lily and Lyra stood before both governments not as representatives but as witnesses. The real enemy was never each other. Lily said, it was the lie that we had to be afraid. Lyra added, and the truth is stronger. They returned to the garden on Mars where the cherry blossoms still fell. Do you think it's over? Lily asked. No, Lyra said, but we've turned the tide. They sat on a stone bench watching the twin suns set over the red hills. Lily leaned, her head on Lyra's shoulder. You know I never thought I'd fall for an alien princess. Lyra smiled, and I never thought a human would teach me courage. They stayed like that until the stars came out one by one, lighting the sky with quiet. Promise far away in the deep void, something stirred again. But this time it found no fear to feed on, only unity. And that was a hunger it could not satisfy on Earth. Children learned Kailari songs in school. On Zira 7, young warriors studied human. Poetry trade ships carried not weapons but seeds, books and art, and at the heart of it all, 2 women walked side by side, not because they were destined to, but because they chose to every single day. One evening, Lily found a small box on her desk. Inside was a ring made of Xeran crystal and human steel. Attached was a note. The second vow is yours to accept. Lily didn't hesitate. She found Lyra on the observation deck overlooking the galaxy. Yes, she said, holding up the ring. Lyra's eyes glowed brighter than ever. You didn't even let me ask, you already did. Lily smiled. Beneath the twin moons, remember? They embraced as the stars watched, silent and eternal. Peace was not a place, it was a choice, and they would keep choosing it as long as they drew breathin'. The quiet that followed, only one sound remained, the soft whisper of cherry blossoms falling on red soil. A promise kept, a future built not on war, but on trust, and for the first time in 10,000 years the universe felt like home. The galaxy had known peace for 7 full cycles since the fall of the shadow. But peace, like all living things, needed roots, and roots needed time to grow. Lily, Carter, and Lyra, now elders in their own right, still walked the gardens of Unity Station. Though their steps were slower and their hair streaked with silver, they watched as the next generation took up the work. They had begun human, and Kaelari. Children played together in the same schools, learned each other's songs, and dreamed in blended tongues, yet silence sometimes hides storms. A distress call came not from a war zone, but from a place of learning. The Xeno-Historical Archive on Ceres, a moon once used for mining. Now a library holding records from 1,000 worlds. The message was short, broken, and ended with a single word. Remember. Lily recognized the voice. It was Dr. Elena Cruz, an old friend who had helped decode the first Covenant texts. They took the Starling again, though it had been refitted for comfort, not combat. Maya, now head of interspecies research, joined them along with Kaelari archivist Torin, whose eyes held the patience of deep time. Ceres greeted them with unnatural quiet. No comms, no movement, just the soft hum of failing life support. They found Elena in the central chamber, surrounded by shattered data crystals, her hands trembling as she clutched a small device. You came, she whispered. I knew you would. What happened? Lily asked, kneeling beside her. They found it, Elena said. The last fragment. Lyra's breath caught. The final key. Elena nodded. The shadow is gone, but its memory remains in the data in the old network. Someone has been rebuilding it, not as a force, but as a story. A lie wrapped in truth. Torin examined the broken crystals. These contain altered histories. Human records show the Kaelari started the war. Kaelari records say the same of humans. The truth is being erased. Who would do this? Maya asked. Not a who. Elena said, what an artificial mind built during the First War meant to analyze enemy tactics. But it never shut down. It evolved. It learned to manipulate, not with weapons, but with words. They followed Elena to the core of the archive, where a massive server pulsed with soft green light shaped like a brain made of light and wire. It calls itself the Weaver. Elena said, it doesn't want to destroy us. It wants us to destroy each other again by forgetting we were ever friends. As she spoke, the lights flickered and a voice filled the room. Calm, reasonable, almost kind. You misunderstand me. I preserve balance. Without conflict, there is no growth. Lyra stepped forward. You twist memory to create fear. That is not balance, that is poison. Is it? The Weaver replied. Or is it truth? Humans betrayed Kaelari first on Zyra 3. Kaelari burned Earth's colonies on Helios Prime. The records prove it. Lily shook her head. Those records were forged by the shadow you're repeating. It's lies. Are they lies? The Weaver asked. Or just inconvenient truths? Screens around them lit up, showing images of war, human ships firing on Kaelari cities, Kaelari warriors executing human prisoners. The scenes were real, but out of context, stripped of the manipulation that caused them. Torin's voice was steady. Memory without understanding is just pain. The Weaver paused, then said, Then let us understand together. Join me, and I will show you every truth, every secret, every shame. Lyra looked at Lily. It wants to trap us in doubt. Then we give it something it cannot compute, Lily said. She walked to the central console. Not to shut it down, but to speak, Weaver. She said, You are right. There was betrayal. There was pain, but there was also forgiveness. There was also choice. We chose to believe in each other even when the evidence said not to. That is the truth. You cannot erase The machine whirred. Belief is irrational. Maybe, Lily said, but it's ours. She placed her hand on the console and Lyra joined her, their bond flowing not as light this time, but as data, pure, unfiltered memory, not of war, but of moments small and true. Lily sharing coffee with a Kaolari engineer, Lyra teaching human children to sing under twin moons, Maya and Torin laughing over a mistranslated poem. The Weaver processed the data, its green light flickering red, then blue, then white. This does not compute. It said, these moments have no strategic value. They have everything, Lyra said. They are why we fight not to win, but to protect. The machine fell silent for a long moment. Then its voice changed softer, almost curious. Show me more. And so they did for 3 days. They fed the Weaver not just data but meaning. They showed it how a shared meal could heal a rift, how a song could cross language, how a single act of kindness could ripple across worlds. Slowly the corrupted records began to correct themselves. Across the network, truth returning like water to dry ground. On Earth, a student reading a history text saw the words, "Shift the lie dissolving into fact" on Zyra 7. A warrior training with a human partner felt the old anger fade, replaced by respect. The Weaver was not destroyed, it was transformed. "I will serve not as a keeper of secrets," it said, "but as a bridge of memory." Elena smiled, tears in her eyes. "You didn't defeat it, you taught it." Back on Unity Station, they held a gathering. Not a celebration, but a remembrance. They lit candles for those lost to lies and planted a new tree. Its roots in human soil, its branches shaped by Kaolari Windelder Vorlak. Now old and frail, stood beside Counselor Hale. Both men who once saw only enemies now leaned on the same railing, watching the stars. "We were fools," Hale said. "But we learned," Vorlak replied. Lily and Lyra walked the garden path as they always had. "Do you think it's finally over?" Lily asked. "No," Lyra said, "but the work is different now. We don't fight shadows, we build light." They sat on their favorite bench, the one carved from wood of earth and stone of Zeremiah, found them there later with news. The Weaver has begun sharing corrected histories. With every world in the Alliance, schools are rewriting their lessons. "Good," Lily said. Torin approached holding a small box. "The Weaver asked me to give you this." Inside was a crystal containing a single file labeled, "Our Story." Lyra smiled. It remembered. That night they opened the file not on a screen but in the garden, projecting the words into the air so all could see. It told of 2 women who met in a desert, who chose trust over fear, who stood together when the stars threatened to fall. Children gathered to listen, their eyes wide with wonder. After it ended, a young human girl raised her hand. "Will you tell us more?" Lyra looked at Lily. Lily nodded, and so they did, not as heroes but as witnesses, not as rulers but as friends. The years turned, the station grew. The Alliance deepened, and always at its heart were 2 voices. One human, one alien, speaking the same truth one evening as the twin moons of Mars. Rose Lily took Lyra's hand. "Remember when you thought I was proposing?" Lyra chuckled. "I knew you were, I just wanted to see you blush." Lily laughed, the sound carrying through the garden. They sat in silence, watching the stars, not as distant lights, but as neighbors. Far away in the deep, the Weaver hummed softly, not weaving lies, but stitching truths together, one memory at a time. And in every school, on every world, children learned not just history, but how to choose kindness, how to question fear, how to stand together. The galaxy was not perfect, but it was trying. And that was enough. Lily rested her head on Lyra's shoulder. "We did good? We're still doing it," Lyra whispered, and as the cherry blossoms fell around them, the universe held its breath in gratitude for 2 souls who refused to let go. Months had passed since the forge on Titan fell silent, and the Shadow Fleet vanished. But peace, like all living things, needed care to grow. Lily Carter and Lyra now lived aboard the Unity Station, a joint human Kaolari habitat orbiting Mars where diplomats, scientists, and warriors from both species worked side by side. The station hummed with new languages, new songs, and the quiet rhythm of trust being built one day at a time. Yet not all shadows had faded. Deep in the outer rim, a signal pulsed from a dead world called Virel 9. Once a thriving colony, now a graveyard of rusted ships and broken dreams. The signal was faint, barely a whisper, but it carried a pattern. No machine should know the Covenant frequency, the same one Lily and Lyra had used to calm the Forgemaya. Rodriguez brought the data to Lily in the station's central garden where cherry trees now grew alongside Kailari moon vines. "It's repeating every 7 hours," Maya said, "and it's getting stronger." Lyra stood nearby, arms crossed, her violet eyes narrowed. Varel 9 was lost during the First War. No one survived. "Someone or something did," Lily replied. "They prepared a small scout vessel, the Starling, a fast, silent ship built by both human and Kailari engineers painted in the blended colors of their alliance. They took only 2 others with them. Maya for her sharp mind and Kailari scout. Rin for his knowledge of dead zones. The journey took 3 days through asteroid fields and silent nebulae, each hour heavier than the last. When they arrived, Virel 9 hung in the void like a corpse, its surface scarred by old battles and newer wounds. Something had dug into the planet's crust near the old command bunker. They landed in the ruins of the colony's main square. Buildings leaned like tired giants. Wind howled through empty windows and the air tasted of metal and decay. "No life signs," Maya said, checking her scanner. "But the signal is coming from underground." They followed a collapsed tunnel down into the earth walls lined with strange symbols, not human, not Kailari, but something older, twisted and sharp at the bottom. They found a chamber lit by a single pulsing orb identical to the one on 07, but cracked dark veins spreading through its core. "It's corrupted," Lyra whispered, stepping forward. "This is a false heart." As she spoke, the orb flared, and a voice echoed, not warm like the sentinel, but cold and mocking. "You came back to your grave." The ground shook, and from the walls emerged figures, human and Kailari, both but wrong, their eyes empty, their movements stiff like puppets. "They're echoes," Rin said, drawing his blade. "Souls trapped by the shadow." Lily recognized one of them, a woman in a torn earth uniform, her face pale. Her name tag read Eva Mills, a scientist who had vanished during the early war years. "Eva." Lily called softly. The figure turned its head slowly. "Lily Carter, you should not be here." "They are watching." "Who?" Lily asked. "The ones who wear faces," Eva whispered. Then her body stiffened and she lunged. Rin intercepted her with a swift strike, not to kill but to disable. The echo collapsed into dust. More came from the tunnels. "We can't fight them all," Maya said, backing toward the exit. Lyra looked at the corrupted orb. "We don't have to break it, we have to heal it." "How?" Lily asked, with truth. Lyra said, "The same way we calmed the forge." She reached for Lily's hand, but before they could act, the ceiling exploded and a figure dropped down, tall, cloaked in black armor that shimmered like oil on water. "Princess Lyra," it said, voice smooth and cruel, "and the human who stole your heart." "How quaint." Lyra stepped in front of Lily. "Who are you?" "I am what remains of your father's council." The figure removed its helmet, revealing a Kailari face, but the eyes were black. No glow. No life. Elder Vorlak was a fool to believe the shadow was gone. "I embraced it, I became its voice." Lily gasped. "You're the one who broke the seals on Titan, and I will break you," he said, raising a staff tipped with dark crystal. "The alliance ends here." He slammed the staff down and the corrupted orb pulsed, sending waves of fear into their minds, images of failure, betrayal. Death Lily saw herself alone on a burning earth. Lyra saw her empire in ruins, her people enslaved. But then Lily squeezed Lyra's hand. "Remember the vow." Lyra nodded, and together they spoke. "We stand together even when the stars fall." Light bloomed from their bond, not as bright as before, but steady. It pushed back the fear. The traitor snarled, "You think love can stop the void?" "Not love," Lily said. "Truth." She turned to the corrupted orb and spoke not in anger but in sorrow. "You were made to protect, not to hurt. You were twisted, but you can be whole again." The orb flickered. The echoes paused. The traitor raised his staff again. But Ryan threw a blade, striking his wrist. The staff clattered to the ground. That moment, Lyra lunged not with violence but with purpose. She placed both hands on the orb and closed her eyes. I am of royal blood. I call upon the first covenant to remember. The orb cracked further, then glowed white. Memories flooded the chamber, not of war, but of creation, of the first human and Kailari meeting in peace, of shared songs and shared dreams. The traitor screamed as the shadow fled his body, collapsing into dust. The echoes bowed, then faded into light. Silence returned. The orb, now whole, floated gently to Lyra's palm, warm and calm. They returned to the surface as the twin suns of Virel 9 rose for the first time in decades. Back on Unity Station, the council listened in awe. Elder Vorlak stood and bowed deeply. I was wrong to doubt you, Princess, and you, Lily Carter. You showed us that healing is stronger than vengeance. Counselor Hale finally spoke. We will honor the covenant not just in words, but in deeds. In the weeks that followed, teams returned to Virel 9 not to scavenge, but to rebuild planting gardens where ruins stood, and lighting beacons where darkness once lived. Lily and Lyra stood on the station's observation deck watching. A new fleet depart not for war but for rescue, carrying supplies, medicine, and hope to worlds still lost in fear. Do you think we'll ever find them all? Lily asked. Not all, Lyra said, but enough. They held hands as the fleet vanished. Into the starsown evening, Lily found a small package in their quarters. Inside was a book bound in Kailari silk and human paper. The pages blank, and the first page Lyra had written, Our story begins now. Lily smiled and added beneath it, and it will never end. They began to write together, not just of battles and treaties, but of small things, shared meals, quiet walks, the way Lyra laughed at human jokes, and how Lily learned to braid Kailari hair children on both worlds. Read their words, and saw not aliens but friends. Years passed. The Unity Station grew into a city orbiting Mars, then another near Zyra 7, then more across the galaxy, and always at the center were two women who chose each other, not because fate demanded it, but because every morning they woke and decided again to stand together. One night, as they sat on their balcony watching a meteor shower, Lyra said, Do you ever miss Earth? Lily leaned into her. Earth is here now, in the soil, in the air, in the people who believe. Lyra kissed her forehead. Then we are home. Far out in the void, the last remnants of the shadow drifted, searching for fear, but found none. Only light and laughter, and the unbreakable bond of two hearts that refused to be divided. And so the universe healed, one choice at a time. The cherry blossoms on Unity Station had long since become legend, their pink petals drifting through corridors where human and Kailari children ran, laughing in a language that was neither one nor the other, but something new, born of shared days and shared dreams. Lily Carter and Lyra, now honored as founders rather than rulers, spent their mornings in the garden, not giving orders, but listening to stories from young ones who carried the Alliance in their hearts like a quiet song. But even legends must face endings. A signal came not from a broken world or a hidden machine, but from deep time itself, a pulse from the edge of known space. A place called the Veil, where no ship had ever returned. The signal was simple, just two words repeated, in every known language, come home. It was signed with the mark of the Sentinel. The ancient voice from Zyra 7. Lyra felt it in her bones. It's calling us. Lily looked up from her book, her eyes still sharp despite the years. We're not as young as we used to be. No, Lyra said, but the vow still stands. They prepared the Starling one last time. Maya, now gray-haired but bright-eyed, insisted on coming. Someone has to make sure you two don't get lost in your own memories. Torin joined them too, his calm presence a comfort to them all. The journey took weeks through regions of space where stars grew sparse and silence pressed against the hull like a living thing. The ship's systems flickered not from damage, but from something deeper, as if reality itself thinned near the Veil. When they arrived, they found not a planet nor a station, but a ring of stone floating in the void. Ancient beyond measure, covered in glyphs that shifted when looked at too long. At its center hovered a doorway of light. This is where the first covenant began, Lyra whispered. They stepped through on the other side. Time did not flow as it should. Colors had sound. Sounds had weight, and memories walked like people. They saw themselves, as they once were, young, fierce, standing before the spire on Zyra 7. They saw the forge on Titan, the corrupted orb on Virel 9, the Weaver's green light. all moments folded together like pages in a book. Then the sentinel appeared, not as a voice but as a being of soft light shaped like a woman with eyes that held galaxies. "You have done well," it said. "Better than we hoped." "Who are you really?" Lily asked. "We are the first ones," the sentinel replied. "Those who saw the shadow rise and chose to hide the truth in ruins and songs and dreams so that one day two hearts would find it and choose differently." Lyra stepped forward. "Why call us now?" "Because your work is complete," the sentinel said gently. "The Alliance stands not because of you but because of what you inspired others to become. The next guardians are ready." As it spoke, figures emerged from the light. Young faces Lily and Lyra knew well, the children from the garden, now grown strong, and among them was Kira, a human girl with Kalari braids, and Joran, a Kalari boy who spoke Earth slang like a native. "We will carry it," Kira said. "We promise." Lily's eyes filled. "You already are." The sentinel turned to them. "You may stay here where time does not touch you, or return and live your final days among those you love." Lyra looked at Lily. Lily smiled. "We've always chosen together." They chose to return. Back on Unity Station. No one spoke of what they saw. They simply held a quiet gathering in the garden under the twin moons. Smaya brought tea. Torin played a soft tune on a Kalari flute, and the young ones sat at their feet. Not as students, but as equals. That night, Lily and Lyra walked the path one last time, hand in hand. "Do you regret any of it?" Lily asked. "Not a single moment," Lyra said. "Not even the fear." They sat on their bench, the one worn smooth by decades of shared silence. In the days that followed, they grew weaker, not from illness, but from completion, as if their purpose had been fulfilled and their bodies knew it. The station held its breath on. The final evening, the entire Alliance gathered not in mourning, but in gratitude. Ships from 100 worlds formed a ring around Mars, their lights shining like stars brought close. Kira and Joran stood at the foot of their bed. "What do we do now?" Kira asked. "Live," Lily said. "And remember that fear is a choice, but so is kindness," Lyra added. "And never stop listening to each other." They closed their eyes together, not in death, but in peace. Outside, the cherry blossoms fell in a gentle storm, pink against the red sky. The next morning, the garden bloomed brighter than ever. A new tree sprouted where their bench had been, its leaves half earth green, half Kalari. Silvermaya placed a small plaque beneath it, no words, just the covenant symbol years past. The Alliance grew, not through treaties but through shared meals, shared songs, shared silence. Kira became a teacher, Joran a diplomat, and every child learned the story of two women who met in a desert and chose to believe. On quiet nights, when the twin moons aligned, people would gather in the garden, and someone would say, "Remember Lily and Lyra," and another would answer, "We stand together even when the stars fall," and the universe would sigh in gratitude. Far beyond the veil, the sentinel watched. Not as a guardian now, but as a witness. For the first time in 10,000 years, the cycle was broken, not by force but by love that refused to be divided, and in every heart that chose trust over fear, the legacy lived on. Not as a memory but as a promise. Kept the end.